Good morning, everyone. Bonjour, Assalamu alaikum, shalom. I would like to thank the Pearson Center for the opportunity to share and learn with all of you. It's nice to see many friendly and familiar faces here. I would also like to acknowledge the honor and humility I feel of being on unceded Algonquin territory. So today, I'd like us all to consider the role of the media, and Mr. Virani did mention it in his opening remarks, and I really did want to start there because it's an issue that is very dear to my heart, having a journalism background and having worked in journalism. So the role of the media in all its various forms is a key catalyst in how our various diverse communities perceive one another. Many of us have heard the term fake news and alternative facts thanks to the rise of Donald Trump south of the border. What we need to understand is that these issues around fake news, alternative facts, have been around a long time before anyone knew what to call it, and have actually targeted various communities in history over the past many years in Canada and abroad. The Ryerson Review of Journalism actually published an excellent series of articles last summer which analyzed the media coverage about various communities, including about Indigenous communities, Black communities, LGBTQ communities. And the prevalent theme in all of those articles was that the mainstream media coverage is typically negative, stereotypical, where there is any coverage at all, or that there is an invisibility of communities and which becomes a type of erasure. As someone who's trained in journalism and who has worked in mainstream newsrooms, including here in Ottawa at the CBC Radio, I know that among the challenges is to ensure that our newsrooms, like other institutions, are representative of our communities, and currently they are not. News in particular, by its very nature, focuses on conflict or negativity, and therefore, when communities are mentioned, it is often in a negative context. Though, of course, there are thankfully exceptions to that rule when positive stories are also shared. When it comes to pop culture in Canada, we have seen efforts to diversify the offerings. Many Canadians don't realize, actually, that Muslims actually helped save the CBC, according to Richard Strasberg, the former head of television there. At a time of struggling ratings, opening night of Little Mosque on the Prairie broke viewership records with over 2.1 million viewers. Wouldn't that have been a nice headline in the Globe and Mail? Muslims save the CBC. Efforts like these must continue to be nurtured because what it shows is that we can actually export around the world positive representation of what diversity can do and how we can try to change negative perceptions. Because at the moment, we have over a third of Canadians who still have a negative perception, for example, about Canadian Muslims. This is very important because we do rely on our public broadcaster to fulfill its mandate of reflecting Canada back to all of us. The 1991 Broadcasting Act, among many things, states that CBC must reflect the multicultural and multiracial nature of Canada. The need for this has never been more urgent at a time of a fledgling media industry pressured by a changing landscape that rewards clickbait over substance, sensationalism and fake news over analysis, and at a time when the public is losing trust in media altogether, and where public perceptions are unfortunately shaped in bubbles. For this, government leadership is critical. Our public broadcaster must be supported at a level in which it can remain independent and true to its role. Further to a robust and strong public broadcaster, which is committed not to the bottom dollar, but to informing, educating, celebrating our nation, our leadership must also have its finger on the pulse of the nation and ensure that forces of division that are marginalizing particular groups or using fear and misinformation to sow division are confronted. This means that public education campaigns promoting the importance of multiculturalism, diversity, inclusion must also be supported. In Ontario, we have had several recent examples of this, including the Toronto for All campaign, which had consisted of ads on bus shelters. I'm not sure if you've seen them, but you had an image of someone telling someone of looks immigrant, go back to where you came from, and they say the equivalent of where Orleans, where I'm from, right? So that was running in Toronto. We also have a current campaign called Break the Behavior, which was supported by the Ontario Human Rights Commission, the Ontario Council of Agencies Serving Immigrants, our organization, and the Canadian Arab Institute, and which has public service announcements currently running on television, and there's short little spots which feature, one is a classroom where a young boy is actually trying to tell an anti-Muslim joke and a friend stops him. And the other is one of a family which has gone skating all day and they return back to their home to find the words "Muslims go home" spray painted on the garage, which is a real true incident that happened in Alberta last year. So each of these types of campaigns are tackling xenophobia and Islamophobia head on, and these campaigns could not have occurred without government funding and support. Finally, an anti-racism lens must be brought forward and utilized by all forms of government in understanding and analyzing the consequences of action and inaction on the issues falling within their mandates. This was actually part of an open letter endorsed by over 100 Canadian Muslim organizations and allies following the tragic terrorist attack that killed 6 Quebec Muslim men on January 29th. And the open letter is available on our website, and I encourage you all to read it because it goes in depth in some of these issues that I think we'll talk about today. So, returning to the media and in conclusion, as much as we all understand the importance of standing up to racism and all forms of discrimination, we must recommit to educating and re-educating our fellow Canadians about the value, the legacy, the future of multiculturalism. Our media landscape is a crowded one, and we need to ensure that our voices are heard above the din. Thank you.
Thank you very much.